Hey guys, I'm Fainer. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about Downfalls High. So right out the gate, you have to fall into one of two groups of people. You either are a Machine Gun Kelly fan or you are not a Machine Gun Kelly fan. And I promise I will address both camps of people, but in order to explain myself, I really can't avoid spoilers. So, beware, there will be spoilers ahead. Now, viewers of my channel will know that I'm a huge Machine Gun Kelly fan. I listed Tickets to My Downfall as my top pop punk slash emo album of last year, so these opinions obviously come from somebody who loves this music. But even if you're not a Machine Gun Kelly fan, I think I can convince you of this movie's cultural importance, even if it's not your cup of tea. So, starting out, you know how some movies just age super well and they become like timeless classics, and then some kind of don't and just feel dated after a while? Well, this movie will absolutely 100% not age well. Because it's not meant to. It's not meant to be a timeless classic. It's not meant to be any of that sort of stuff. It's meant to be a snapshot of teenage culture in 2021. Like, for example, look at the cast. Chase Hudson, Sydney Sweeney, Jaden, Trippie Redd, Ian Dior, Maggie Lindemann. Like, these were pretty much picked to be A-listers with teenagers right now. I understand a couple of those names were features on the album, but like, they were features on the album for that reason too. And it's pretty much anyone's guess who will still be famous, say, like, 10 years from now, but it's certainly true that some of these people will have fallen off the radar. And I think the fact that this movie will age so poorly is actually one of its biggest selling points. Like, right now, today, it's kind of a culmination and a celebration of the community and culture MGK has formed around his music. Like, it kind of acts as a capstone piece and a last hurrah to everything he's accomplished on Tickets to My Downfall. And in all honesty, I feel like what Machine Gun Kelly has done with Tickets to My Downfall is nothing short of amazing. So I'm going to put on my old-timer cap here for a little bit, but I grew up as a pop punk kid. Like, I loved all the classic bands like Sum 41, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Green Day. And honestly, that scene pretty much died out in about 2010 when rock music on the whole kind of went into a heavy decline. And since then, no one's really managed to come out with a pop punk album that captured the hearts of the masses and managed to create an entire little culture for itself. Like, in 2004, American Idiot came out, and I got absolutely obsessed with that album in the way, like, only kids can get obsessed with things. And, like, that was wonderful. You know, like, feeling that passionately about something is one of the best things there is in life. And now, for the first time in, like, a decade, I'm seeing kids get as excited and passionate about pop punk as I was. And furthermore, when Green Day came out with a Broadway show for American Idiot, I was hyped as hell, and I made my parents bring me and my best friend to go see it. And like, was it a particularly good Broadway show? No. But that doesn't mean that I didn't absolutely enjoy the experience, and like, I remember it fondly to this day. Yeah, and I think this is ultimately what Downfalls High's impact will be. Like, right now, there are millions of people who love Machine Gun Kelly. And that's not like individuals, right? It's groups of people. It's like little cliques at every school everywhere. And for the next couple weeks, this is going to be the talk of the town in those groups. Because it's a great little focal point of their culture. It's trendy, it talks the way they do, and it just celebrates the way that they live life and think about the world. You know, like the main hook from the trailer was, what do you want to be when you grow up? Dead. And then, like, all you have to do is scroll down to the comments and there's like a whole litany of people being like, yo, that's a mood. And you know, that's great. Like, that's Downfalls High being in tune with the, like, Gen Z gallows humor and angst that's very popular right now. And in a year where so many teenagers lost out on the iconic high school experience, I think this is doubly important. Like, anything that celebrates youthful, reckless abandon in this year where everyone was told to stay home and stay safe is more important than it's ever been before. And all that stuff's like, gonna make it age poorly, but that's the point. You know, in 10 years, like, all those teenagers who bonded over Machine Gun Kelly's music are gonna be get their friends together to have viewing parties and bask in the nostalgia and talk about what a crazy year this was. In 10 years, you'll be able to play this and not only remember what happened this year, but, like, more importantly, remember, like, how it felt to be here. You know, to have, like, been who you are and lived through this period of time. Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time talking about teenagers, but I'm not a teenager, and I enjoy this movie, and I like Machine Gun Kelly's music. It's actually kind of harder for me to explain why I like this stuff than why other people do. But, you know, I'm pretty close to Machine Gun Kelly's age, so I think I really need to approach this from a similar angle to how he does, if that makes sense. And really, I think there's something very pure about what Machine Gun Kelly is doing. Like, Machine Gun Kelly was a pop punk kid just like I was, and he worshipped Blink-182 just as much as I did. And now that he's one of the most popular artists in the world, he wants to, you know, pick up that torch and keep the culture that he grew up with alive. And, you know, as like sort of bonus points, he gets to collaborate with his heroes like Travis Barker. Furthermore, I do think there is a bit of maturity to Down Falls High that's perhaps hidden a bit under the surface. Yeah, so here come the spoilers. But, the whole movie is pretty cheesy, and especially the end where Phoenix cuts off his ear. That's pretty clearly a reference to the legend of Van Gogh having cut off his ear to give to his girlfriend, but yeah, even knowing the reference, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And, you know, Scarlet dies in the middle, and that kind of snowballs into Phoenix going down this really self-destructive path. It could have been handled better. But honestly, I don't consider these to be real detractors. I think a little bit of cheese adds value and makes it more memorable rather than it just kind of being bland. Yeah, so aside from the cheese, I watched this movie 3 times the night it came out, and I felt really differently about it each time. Like, you know, the first time, it was just a ton of fun. Like, it was a straight party, and I was just kind of rocking out to MGK's music and having a good time. But the second and third time were quite a bit different. Like, knowing how it all turns out makes the first half of the movie quite a bit more somber. Like, there's that big montage where Phoenix and Scarlet are just kind of, like, bumming around town, having a wonderful time, and being in love. And in particular, there's that scene in the record store where they're just kind of goofing around listening to Youngblood. Yeah, I mean, I don't have great words for it, but that scene is a bag of mixed emotions for me. You know, like we've all been those two people. And for the most part, those experiences are behind us rather than ahead of us. So, you know, while it's wonderful to remember having been those people, there's also a sense of loss for those times having happened and never coming back. Like in the case of Phoenix, you know, Scarlet's dead. Those memories are kind of all he'll ever have. And I think anyone who's experienced loss can relate to that on some level. One of the main complaints I hear from people who don't like MGK's music is that they feel it's shallow. And, you know, I get that to an extent. I think more so than being shallow, it's accessible. Like, I think you gotta be real here. And, like, MGK understands that he's gotta be garish just to get anyone to pay attention in the first place. And if you're going to make music that millions of people enjoy, it's gotta be catchy and it's gotta be fun. And to a certain degree, it's also gotta be straightforward. But also, like, MGK is just a dude. Like, he's one guy, and he wants all the same things from life that the rest of us do. And certainly expressing himself is one of those things. Like, MGK knows his movie is corny and heavy-handed. And he's perfectly okay with that because that's what's memorable and that's what's attention-grabbing. But where he expresses himself is much more, like, in the subtleties. I could go a lot of places with this, but I think I want to go here. So, Here's a still from that record store scene I was talking about, and just kind of like look at the colors. Like the color grade on it is very bright and vibrant and just kind of happy-go-lucky and happy. So then like contrast that with a scene later in the movie where this is a scene where everyone's kind of forgotten about and discarded Scarlet, where Phoenix is still very much reeling from her death. And, you know, you can see the colors here are much more blunted. Like it's heavily desaturated. There's a bit of a haze over it, and the whole thing just kind of screams depression and ennui to me. And that's not some coincidence. That's very much what they're going for. You know, they want it to be dull and listless. And I get that some of that's the cinematography more so than like Machine Gun Kelly's music, but, you know, really, Machine Gun Kelly's fingerprints are all over this thing. The sheer fact that this movie is ultimately about loss and coming of age, as much as it is youthful, reckless abandon, is indicative of the impression Machine Gun Kelly wants to leave you with. And so, after having watched this several times, the main takeaway I get from this is that youth is precious and fleeting. So, yeah, that's my spiel. I honestly really enjoy this movie, and I'm grateful to the people that put it together. I know some people don't like MGK for like whatever reason, but even if you're not on the MGK bandwagon, I'd encourage you not to look down on those of us that are, because ultimately MGK just represents the next milestone in our traditions and culture. And, you know, hey, consider hopping on the bandwagon because it's a really fun time. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. I'm a new channel, and people liking my video really helps more people discover my content. And if you'd also like to hear me talk about why all kinds of music is great, be sure to subscribe and stick around as well. That's it. Thanks for watching. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm done.